Hey, solid gamers. So I've spent my weekend playing a lot of Battlefield 2042. I've spent 10 hours in the game so far, and I gotta tell you, this is not at all what I expected.
When in doubt, follow my lead.
So what do I mean by that? So let's start off with saying that I played a lot of the beta, and there was just something with the game that it just felt very off. I can't just really put my finger on it, but it just didn't feel like a Battlefield game really, and it felt very unpolished and not very good looking in terms of graphics, and also suffered from a lot of bugs. It just played kind of weird. So I really went into this game with pretty low expectations. I was expecting a lot of bugs and glitches. People had a lot of concerns after the beta, and there were rumors going around that the build was actually not that old as EA said it was. So that got me thinking, how different can the full game actually be then, if it turns out that this build of the beta isn't actually that old? Like, how much progress can you make in just a couple of months? It just felt like that there was so much that actually needed to be fixed, because it really felt like a half-finished game, and I was so afraid that the final game would be very much like the beta. And I should also mention that I am a huge Battlefield fan. I have played Battlefield games since the 1942 game, and I have played every Battlefield since then. And I felt like with the last 3 games that it's been going in kind of a downward spiral. Like Hardline, sure, it really had its positive sides. It was actually pretty good. And then we got Battlefield 1, which I didn't like very much. And then we had Battlefield 5, which wasn't also that great. I still spent quite a bit of time playing it, but I got kind of bored after a while. So it really felt like the golden days of Battlefield had passed. But then when we got our first glimpse of Battlefield 2042, I felt hopeful for the first time in years. When they showed their first trailers and then that first gameplay video, it felt like Battlefield is finally coming back, and that it was coming back with a bang. And I was very hyped and hopeful all the way up to the start of the beta, and that's where the doubts started coming in and the worries, and I felt disappointed that this is not gonna be the Battlefield return that I was expecting and hoping for so dearly. But then it happened. I was sitting up very late. I was waiting for the clock to reach 12 a.m., the time when the early access started. So things started off really well. I had no trouble coming into the servers or anything, no connection problems. I could just fire up the game and jump right in. Well, let's start off by saying that at the time when I could start playing the game wasn't open for PC players or for Americans, because I'm in a different time zone. I'm in the European Standard Time Zone. So right after I deployed on the battlefield, I felt it straight away. At first, I noticed just holy shit, these graphics are next gen. They are really good. It's such a gorgeous game. And then I started playing around. It just played so totally different from the beta. It felt like a different game. And the frame rate was so stable. I never had any frame dips. And I was so relieved and very surprised. You can even check out my reaction to it if you check out my live stream. I streamed for about 3 hours that night when I started playing the game. The game just felt so much smoother, and the controls felt tighter. So the game starts off with a tutorial mission, but I only spent a few minutes in that, and I just left the game because I didn't feel like playing with bots. But right after that, I actually started with firing up Battlefield Bad Company 2, because it just so happens to be one of my favorite games in the franchise. But I'm not gonna start there. I'm gonna start with Battlefield 2042, and all of its different modes. So the game has got 3 different modes: the All-Out Warfare, Hazard Zone, and Portal. And the first 2 modes is focusing strictly on 2042, whereas Portal is a combination of 2042 and some of the older titles. Now, I haven't played all the maps that 2042 is offering, because I've been spending a lot of time in Portal and playing Battlefield 1942, Battlefield Bad Company 2, and Battlefield 3 a lot. But I really enjoyed the new maps. There's a lot of variety. They're really good in size. They're not like too big or too small. They're just perfect for the amount of players that are in the game, which is 128 players. So it's a really massive battlefield. So they've really taken it to a new level, and I gotta say, it really works. The game feels very balanced, and surprisingly enough, I didn't bump into a lot of bugs and glitches, and the game doesn't even have the day 1 patch out yet. There were only a few minor bugs that I encountered during my 10 hours with the game, and one of the glitches were that sometimes dead players would just stand up straight. They would be like in a locked position, so it really looked like they were alive, but they weren't. And the second is that sometimes I couldn't spawn with the chosen weapon that I had picked, so then I had to go into the character selection and then modify the loadout and just swap between some weapons and then just go back to the weapon that I actually wanted to use, and then it would just work again. And there was a third and final glitch that appeared just once, and that was that I wasn't able to revive my downed squad mate. But it was only when I first started playing with a few friends, and that's when we actually bumped into a lot of problems, but they were network problems. We had a really hard time getting into the all-out warfare mode, but for some strange reason we could much more easily actually connect to a Battlefield 3 game, or a Bad Company 2 game, or a 1942 game. But that's most likely due to the traffic and because most people wanted to play the all-out warfare mode. But in terms of gameplay, I only had these 3 minor glitches, and that's something that's easily fixed. So yeah, the large-scale battlefields are absolutely awesome. And then I also tried the Hazard Zone when I had my full squad of friends with me, and that was a lot of fun. They were smaller scale battlefields. They were very, very intense and thrilling. But to me, Portal is the mode that excites me the most. So like I said previously, the very first thing I did with the game was I went straight on to Battlefield Bad Company 2. And holy shit, just incredible. It felt exactly like Battlefield Bad Company 2, but everything was just more polished, upgraded and enhanced, and it looked so freaking beautiful. But the same goes for all these older games. It was such a trip down memory lane. It was like stepping into a time machine, but even better. Time Machine 2.0. And what is so interesting about these older games is that it really keeps the old gameplay mechanics, but slightly improved with like stuff like climbing. But all the old stuff is there, like just the way the bullets flies, for example. Something like the bullet drop, it's gonna be different across all games. And all the different games have got different guns too. But with Bad Company 2, for example, there was no prone function in the original Bad Company 2. It's still the same. You cannot prone when playing Bad Company 2 in Battlefield 2042. But you can prone in Battlefield 1942 and Battlefield 3. And what's also super cool about the Portal mode is that you can customize a game to however you want it to. You can pick between any map between all the games. And then you can choose one side are gonna play, let's say, with the soldiers from Battlefield 1942, and then the other team playing with soldiers from Battlefield Bad Company 2. And when you do something like that, then the players that are on 1942, they're gonna have those gameplay mechanics, and those who play on the Bad Company 2 team, they're gonna have the gameplay mechanics of that game. And you can lock players to a specific weapon. You can make it so that everyone is running around with knives only, or RPGs only, whatever is to your liking. And you can also choose to fill the games with bots. And to me, this game mode is one of the greatest things of the game. It's like you're getting 4 games in one game, and it's our personal playground. So this is really the game. For anyone who likes shooter games, this game has got it for you. Whether you're into smaller scale battles, medium-sized, large-sized, or enormous-sized, this is the game for you, because it's got everything, and in a surprisingly polished package in its current state. So there's just so much variety to the game, and I think this is a game that's gonna be alive for a very, very long time. And I'm sure they're gonna keep updating it with new maps, a bunch of some of the best old maps, like some of the classic ones from the previous games. And then of course we're also gonna get new maps that we've never seen before, and new specialists, new weapons, new gadgets and abilities. I do wish that they could add some sort of character creation though, or we can just choose one character and customize them just the way we want, so our character can look the way we want and also with whatever ability we want. Because with the way it is right now, All the unique specialists have got their own abilities, and maybe you want to play with a certain ability, but maybe you don't want to look like that character. And then it would just be cool if you could actually play around with that a little bit to your own liking, so it would be an even more personal experience. So it really feels like your soldier. But that's just me dreaming. There's also a good progression system in the game, so there are a bunch of attachments to unlock. As you start off the game, you already have a few attachments to choose between, but there is so much more to be unlocked if you keep playing with that certain gun that you want to acquire more attachments to. And speaking of attachments, it works very, very differently across all the games. It actually took me a while before I figured it out how to do it in Bad Company 2, for example. But if they keep expanding this game, it could live on forever. But it's already packed with so much content and so much variety that I'm gonna be busy with this as it is for years to come. So that's gonna do it for my first impressions of Battlefield 2042. I am so happy that we're finally getting a solid Battlefield game again. I just had to make this video and share my first impressions and opinions with you. If you enjoyed the video, found it helpful or informative, then please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, then give it a thumbs down. And please let me know what you think about my first impressions of the game. And if you'd like to see more Battlefield 2042 content, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, because I will live stream it a lot next week. Have you played Battlefield 2042? If so, then please share your thoughts on it. Do you agree or disagree with me? Thank you so much for watching. Take care and stay solid.